When Iron Fist was adapted for Netflix in 2017, there was originally anticipations, along with curiosity, for one of the lesser-known comic book characters being that of Danny Rand, as such being interpreted for the streaming service on hopes that the series would be an important addition to the Netflix series of Marvel-related intellectual properties. This did not happen, and the Iron Fist of the time was considered the weakest of the Netflix-based Marvel shows of the time. But the speculative scenario is this: why was Iron Fist reacted to so negatively? Technically, the adaptation of Iron Fist was somewhat authentic to the original comic book source material, but the premise for Iron Fist was severely outdated by decades, even when the show was created in 2017. Iron Fist, as Danny Rand, was created in 1974, when in the United States there was a trend of Asian fighting methods, or the interpretation of these exotic martial arts. So the premise of a Westerner learning the ways of the East was considered exotic, even by the standards of the time. The whole premise for such were undeniably racist. But following in the trends on sentiments of the time, the character was received well by readers and critics. Although the said trends on sentiment of the time soon dissipated, Danny Rand's importance to the overall 616 Marvel Comics lore on stories for Iron Fist slowly became of less importance, with the realization that the Iron Fist was a somewhat racially accepted stereotype. By the time of the development of the series in 2017, the character of Iron Fist had more modernized interpretations for Danny Rand or the various aspects of the lore relating to the character, but at the same time producers and executives wanted to adapt the character with a method similar to the 1970s origins, even if the said origins were unacceptable to modern audiences of casual Marvel-based media, or casual readers of modern Marvel-based comics. The 2 seasons of this series divided opinions from critics and for viewers over the interpretation of Danny Rand, as well as the supporting characters. The sentiment about whitewashing or the dissipation of Asian culture from a Western point of view even went to the actors and actresses associated with the show. Finn Jones, who portrayed Danny Rand, received negative sentiment from audiences, and his career suffered for a period of time. Jessica Henwick, who portrayed Colleen Wing, was of biracial descent, with critics mentioning that a woman of full Asian heritage should have been depicted as the character from the comics, when in comparison to her being of a half-Asian heritage. Her acting, however, was applauded by critics and audiences alike, and the aspects of praise for the series were mostly for her. The criticisms for Iron Fist were made very early by critics and audiences when the series was originally released. Finn Jones had to repeatedly defend his stance on Danny Rand and for details of Iron Fist. Marvel had to publicly make statements for the character as well as for the series. In terms of the story presented, it was even mentioned in online discussions that Colleen Wing became the next Iron Fist. This was viewed as show producers trying to appease sentiment about Danny Rand, and to make the show more about Colleen Wing because opinions were more for the character and the actress. Iron Fist was one of the first of the Netflix adaptations of Marvel cancelled, despite public claims from Marvel Studios about the characters and lore for Iron Fist being important and that there could be or would be a future. For all of it, none of it was ever mentioned or depicted in future media.